Hi everyone, welcome to this op5 webinar at the doorstep of op5 Monitor. My name is Danielle and I'll be moderating this webinar today, so a very warm welcome to all of our participants. Before we get started, let me just run through some things that are good to know. We have a chat available to all attendees, so feel free to ask questions or make comments at any time during the presentation. There will be a short Q&A session at the end of the webinar so we can tackle any other questions then. The webinar is also being recorded, and the recording and the presentation deck will be made public and sent out to you in a few days. Great. Let me introduce the host of this webinar, Mishu Pajor from our amazing technical services team. Welcome, Mishu. Great to have you here today.
Thank you, Daniel.
Mishu will be guiding you through all the great features of op5 Monitor, including a live systems demo. So take it away, Mishu.
Thank you. So let's get started. I'll be sharing my desktop with you so you can see the presentation. So the agenda for today is that I'll be showing you what we can do in terms of server monitoring. I'll be running you through the live demo divided in 7 stages. We'll end up with a summary where I'll go through what was shown. And then we'll proceed to the next step for you, basically describing how to get more information regarding our products if you would like to learn more. Then we'll also have a short Q&A session, so if you have any technical questions of any kind, then feel free to ask. And then we'll end up with some contact details of how you can get in touch with us. First of all, a little bit about op5 as a company. We're a software-focused development company, so our primary focus is software development, where our core product is op5 Monitor. We were founded in 2004, and our core focus is server monitoring and proactive IT management. op5 is also known for easy and fast implementation, meaning it's easy to work with. We have a very user-friendly user interface, and it's fast to implement in terms of how to get started with op5. So if you like to add monitoring onto your devices and monitor your metrics, it is very easy to get started with it. We're also known to have a very highly scalable and flexible architect. So in terms of if you like to expand with 10,000 devices with time, then we can scale our products with that. We also have professional support. So if you have any questions in regards to our product of how to monitor certain things, you can get in touch with us. We'll be happy to help. Let's get started with the live demo. Share my desktop with you. And now you should see the login screen of op5 Monitor. So first and foremost, I will show you that the login screen has one thing that is not that normal, I would say, but it's a login method that you see. So the login method has a drop-down menu saying default and registered. Basically what this means that default is user accounts that you have created locally in op5 Monitor. While it's registered, it's actually a LDAP connection we've set up. So you can integrate your op5 Monitor with your LDAP or AD, and you can log in using your local user accounts within your organization or company. So here I'll log in with my LDAP account. And once logged in, I'll be presented with the tactical overview, as we call it. The tactical overview gives you an overview of everything you monitor in your environment. In this case, I have defined my tactical overview, so it's personal. So you can build your own widgets, if you please. We ship op5 with predefined widgets that you can drag and drop. So on the left side, you can see the network health. It gives you an overview of your network that you monitor. Here we can see the health on the devices, or hosts as we call them. And we can also see the overview on the service level, all the metrics that you monitor on your given device. Below this, we see an overview of the acknowledged problems, meaning problems that has been handled by, say, the IT department. So you get a quick overview of how many problems are being handled. And below that, we can see our unhandled problems. So you can see that we have 2 network outages, 1 host being down, and some problems with our services. In a perfect world, you would probably see that this unhandled problem is empty, since you should be handling all the problems that occur in op5 Monitor. And once you do so, those will be presented in the acknowledged problems view. Below this, we see our list view, as we call it. The list view lists information that you monitor in your op5 monitoring platform. In this case, I have created a list view that lists only my Windows servers. And of course, you can rename these widgets, as we call them, and give them a name. And the filter behind this is matching everything that has Windows in its name. And that's why I only see my Windows objects or devices. Then we have business services. Business services is a way to get an overview of how your applications are performing and if you have any outages in your applications. So it's a more management view and not the technical nitty-gritty details. And then we have Nagivis. Nagivis is our visualization engine in op5 Monitor, which gives you the ability to visualize data in a non-technical view. And I'll be digging through a couple of views that we have created so you can see what type of views you can create with the help of Nagivis. And again, all these widgets are drag and droppable, so you can drag and drop your widgets and place them as you want, and they are personal, meaning once you build your technical view and define how the widgets should be placed, you will see the very same view when you log in the next time. So to proceed, I will show you the host overview, where you can see all your devices. This is the view where you see all your devices that you monitor in op5 Monitor. On the left, you can see the device name. You can also see the alias. Alias would be more of a description of that device. So you can add a description of any kind. You can also see graphs. Then you have some action buttons. So you can do some actions with this specific device, such as list all services, meaning all the metrics that you monitor for this given device. You can also tie host actions to the device, meaning you can create a link that takes you pretty much everywhere. You can open up, say, a PuTTY session or a SSH connection of any kind, or bring it to an external website such as intranet. Then you can also configure your device. And then we have a built-in DocuWiki with op5 Monitors. Basically, that you can document any notes or information that is worth knowing for the given device or service that you monitor. On the left side, you see an overview of all the services that you monitor. Here you can see we monitor 11 services for this host, while 10 of these are okay and 1 in warning state. The good thing with this is that all views you can drill down in all views. So on the left side, you can drill down by clicking on the 10 services that are in an OK state, which takes you to those services. In addition to the drill down functionality, on the top, you see a summary of all the hosts that you monitor. We can see that in the demo system, we monitor 79 hosts, while 73 are okay.
Sorry, Mishu, I don't mean to interrupt. Daniel had a question about what does it mean to configure device, configuring, for example, a switch?
Configuring a device in op5 means that once you've added a device in op5, you can configure the configuration for it. It's not related to switch configuration in that sense, but it can be also. But I'll show you how that looks like. So I'll configure a device here in op5. And here we can see the configuration page for this Amazon AVS EC2 Polar that we have added to op5. So we can see the host name for that device, we can see the alias, and we can also see the IP address we have entered for this device. You can also add this device to various type of host groups that should be included in. So in this case, we've added 2 host groups. You can also give it an icon or also tag this device with custom tags, such as, for example, if you have any SLA for this device, you can add that like 99.7 in this case. And you can, of course, save your configuration. In addition to this, the configuration page gives you the ability to clone this device, so you can create multiple copies, so identical copies of this device. So if you have a cluster of database servers that you basically want to clone, then you can clone it using the clone functionality. Propagate gives you the ability to push changes in your op5 environment. So for example, say you have a new employee that started working, and that employee should be set as a contact person for various type of devices. Then you most likely would use propagate. And propagate again means that you make a mass change in op5 instead of having to do it individually for each device. Moving on. And also, I showed you quickly here the SLA value that I added. So this is tags that you can tie to devices or services that you monitor. Once you tag certain devices, you can view those tags in the host overview page. So in this view, you can see we have defined columns here on the top. These are the predefined columns that comes with op5, but you can of course remove or add columns. For example, if you'd like to add a new column showing the SLA value of that tag that we defined, you can add a column saying SLA here, which would then show the SLA value for each device individually. Moving on to the service view, we can see it's pretty much looks pretty much the same as the host overview, but in this case you can see the device and all the services that we monitor for that given device in the very same view. You can also see that we have graph icons pretty much for every service. Graphs are being automatically generated for each service that you monitor in op5 Monitor. And don't take me wrong when I say a service. Most might think that a service is a Windows service that you monitor, but of course we can monitor a Windows service, but services in op5 Monitor is basically a metric that we monitor, and that's a service in our world. I'll also show you something we call business services, which I showed you on the tactical view. So in this case, you can see that we have multiple business services added to op5 Monitor. You can see our email service, customer support, storage and backup, virtualization overview, and web shop, for example. Basically, business services give you the ability to tie certain dependencies of an application and visualize it in an easy and understandable way. So take a real case example. I'll expand our web shop here. So we can see that our web shop consists of 3 underlying layers, one being simulation of customer experiences, the other one being a web server cluster, and the third one being the database cluster. So if I expand the web server cluster, we can see that we have 2 web servers that are included in this group. And the database cluster, we can see 2 MySQL servers that are included in the database cluster. And if I expand the simulation of customer experiences, I can see 2 more groups, one being shopping cart and one being payments. I'll expand the shopping cart one, and here we can see that we simulate various functions of our web shop in our shopping cart. So here we can see that we are trying to simulate a coupon. We're trying to redeem a coupon in our shopping cart. We try to add a product and also remove a product from a cart. And then finally we try to press the cart checkout button to verify that everything went as expected. In the payment group, we can see that we simulate the payment with PayPal, by invoice, and credit card. So if we go back a bit, you can see this would be the more non-technical view, meaning you can see clearly is the web shop working or not. And then you can drill down, seeing where do we have any disturbances. The interesting thing with business services is that you can tie various type of rule sets to each group. As many as you might know, that most clusters these days consist of multiple servers. So if you build an application, it's most likely not going to have only one server running the application. Instead, you have a cluster of servers to verify full high availability. And interesting thing with this is that you can see on the web server cluster we actually have a disturbance, but the web server is still green. The reason for this is that we have defined a rule set saying that we require at least one is up and running. So in this case, we have an issue, with a web server in Gothenburg, but it does not affect our web server cluster since it's a cluster. But on the other hand, we can see we have an issue with the simulation of customer experiences, and that state is being aggregated upwards to the web shop. And the reason for that is that we've set the rule on the top layer to war state, which means that if any of the underlying groups have a non-OK state, that state will aggregate up to the very top layer. In addition to this, is that once you've set up your application monitoring this way, you can generate reports on each one of these groups. So the DBA team probably wants to report on database cluster to see how the web shop has been performing database-wise. And probably management would only want to see a report based on the web shop layer. I mean, the very top layer, is it working or not? And of course, all of these can be visualized in a very easy way with our tool called Nagvis. And I'll show you a little bit about Nagvis. Here's Nagvis and all these maps that we have created. So we'll take an example here, such as the network connectivity map. So here's our network connectivity map. We can draw links between offices, and we can see the traffic going on these links currently. So we can see the average traffic. And depending on the traffic here, the arrows will change color according to the legend on the left side here. You can also see if you have any disturbances in a network. This is a very easy view to build, but also gives you a very clear view of your network to see if you have any traffic load between your links or not. That's one example. Another example, say a management view, would probably be something like this. Typically a view that describes is it working or not. And of course, all these views are drillable, so you can drill down this view. If you hover it, you see the information for this object. So in this case, we're monitoring our op5 mail, which consists of Google Apps service checks, since our mail is managed by Google. So the technical personnel that wants to see the nitty-gritty details probably would click down to this view and see the information more detailed. Then they can clearly see what's having issues currently. Go back to Nagvis again. The good thing with Nagvis is that it's easy to build these maps. So this example consists of a background picture. So the background picture in this case would be the op5 logo that we have uploaded. And then we've simply placed out these icons that are basically metrics that we monitor in our op5 environment. So first of all, you make sure to monitor everything that you would like to monitor in your environment, and then afterwards you can stop these views very easily. I'll also show you our Stockholm office. So here is a view of our Stockholm office, where we monitor our access points and also our printers. So in this case, we can see that we have an access point here. We can also see a graph of connected clients. And here we have our printer information. We can see we have some issues with our printer currently.
Needs more toner.
Oh, yeah. Or, for example, if you want to visualize the user experience of a web shop from various type of locations, you can do so. And icons doesn't have to be red, green, or yellow. You can, of course, create your own custom icons if you want. So in this case, I have created some icons. We can see that someone's very happy because everything's green. It's less happy because we have some critical issues ongoing. And here it's in warning state. I'll show you also our network diagram. Also another way to visualize data. We can see the traffic from outgoing to ingoing traffic. And we can also see our ESXi cluster how that's performing. In addition to this, once you have created these Nagbis maps, you can show this externally. So if you would like to export this information to, say, your intranet, that's fully possible. You can iframe these views without having to log in to see these views, if you want to do that, or you can add a login layer, meaning that you have to log in to see these views. So that's a bit short about the Nagbis tool to visualize data. I'll move on to reporting. Reporting, such as SLA. So here we have some saved reports that we have created in the past. I will create a report from the very beginning to show how easy it is. First of all, you will see the report type, meaning what would you like to extract a report on. You can choose host groups, basically devices that are in groups or devices, or service groups, such as mail service, or services individually. So if you'd like to extract a report on all services that are, say, disk users see on all devices, you'll probably choose services and then choose those services. In this case, I will generate a report based on the host group, and I'll actually choose a host group called database. Then we have the reporting period. In this case, I will simply take the last month. The reporting time period. op5 works in the sense that we monitor everything 24/7, but you can choose to only include, say, working hours in your report if you please, or say non-working hours. Custom time periods can be created by yourself if you want to do that, so you're not limited to what we have in the product. You can also count scheduled downtime. So if you want to include or exclude planned maintenance, you can choose to do so. Then we have some other options, such as if you want to include alert logs. So if anything has generated an alert, that will be included in raw format in the report. BSM events means that you can include BSM events such as the web shop example I showed you. So if we had any disturbances on the database cluster, you can choose to show that in the report. You can also include a summary report. And here I will actually include something called pop alert producers. So I will show you what that is. And then you can add a description. I will add a description saying my report. On the very bottom here, you can add a SLA value. So I'll do 99.9. And then I'll generate this report.
It could take a little while.
It can. We're collecting a lot of information in the demo environment. And since it's publicly available, you can also browse your demo environment to log in to see how we set up things. If you wish to test functionality, you can do so. You simply log into demo.op5.com. So here we can see our report. The SLA report has been generated. The database seems to be very stable since it's pretty much doesn't breach the SLA at all. It's 100% up. If the SLA were to be breached, you would see it being red here. You can also drill down. So if you click disable, you can drill down to an availability report. And I will show you how one of those reports looks like. If you scroll down a bit, you will see the SLA breakdown for each month. In this case, I only showed to generate the report for the last month, February. So you can see the SLA we defined and the real SLA. We can also see group members, meaning since I choose the host group called database, I'll probably know what is included in this report, and then we can clearly see it's two database servers, MySQL Server 1 and MySQL Server 2. And here's our top alert producers report. So here you can get an overview of what has generated an alert for the last month. It gives you a clear indication if you have any recurring issues with your application or server. So we can see our host called Microsoft SQL Server 2, and the service memory page per second has alerted a total 137 times. we probably would like to tune the thresholds here or overlook what the issue is with this. You can of course extract these reports, meaning you can export them to CSV or PDF, or you can save it and then schedule its delivery by email. All the reports that you generate can also be exported through our API. We have a very flexible REST API, so if you want to export this data and say integrate with whatever reporting tool you might have in place, you can do so. Our API speaks JSON and XML. And here I will show you our availability report. So I'll generate a report, a saved report called databases. Here we can see a report being generated for a host group databases. This is a very detailed report. In this case, everything is up and running, so I'll try to generate another report that has some issues. So let's try network, for example. Had some issues there. So basically, this report will show you a report for the last 24 hours, and you will see also what the report includes. So we can see we've had some issues here. The router 1 and 2 in Stockholm has been down 100% for the last 24 hours. And you get a summary of your network performance-wise, how's that been behaving. I'll generate a new report here to see if we can find something that has had some recurring issues. I want to show you the trend graphs that we have built in. So here we can see the trend graphs being generated. The interesting thing here is that you can see any recurring downtime or issues or disturbances that you may have had in your environment. So here we can see our internal development server has been up most of the time for the last month, but something went wrong during a period. And here we can see clear what has the issue been. So say if you have any recurring issues with, say, your database server, then you probably would see multiple red dots with time. And once you hover the red dots, you will see a clear indication of the disturbance. So instead of having to keep track of your disturbances, you can generate this type of report, and it will clearly show you what type of disturbances you've had. If we scroll down, we can see what's been included in the report again. And also quick pie chart. And if we scroll further down, we get raw performance graphs, as we call these, to get an indication of any recurring issues that you may have had. So that's the reporting, and I'm going to round off this demo. I'll see if I can stop screen sharing. Show the slide once again. So a quick summary. What I showed you was the login screen, the tactical overview. We can drag and drop widgets. You can also create your own widgets if you please. We have a framework. Our user interface is built on PHP, so you have the full flexibility to build your own widgets in terms of, say, for example, showing information from your intranet or other systems on your dashboard. Then you can do so. I show you the host and services overview. Also business services management, where I show you the web shop example. And also how to visualize your data with the help of Navis, creating those maps. And then reports and graphs, such as SLA and availability reports, and also graphs for each metric that you monitor. So next step for you, if you'd like to have more information or how-tos or more documentation regarding our products, you can visit our knowledge base, which is available at khb.op5.com. You can also visit our website, op5.com, for more information. We can read about our products. So we'll start off with a Q&A sessions. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I see that Stefan has asked a question here. So one question to search the function. When entering HG into the search window, it used to show me all the available host group, but this does not work. To be honest, Stefan, I did try this the other day, and it should work just fine. When you type HG and colon, then whatever you would like to search for, it should show you all those host groups.
So it's hard to say why it might not be working for him, though.
Yes.
Okay. Were there any questions? All right, well, I mean, we're running out of time. We've gone up to our 30 minutes. So if you do have any other questions, then you can feel free to get in touch. You can email us at info@op5.com or inside-sales@op5.com to speak to an inside sales rep and talk a little bit more tech. And if you want to have a demo or if you have any other questions, you can also get in touch with the website at op5.com/about/contact-us. That's it for us today. Thank you very much for being such a great audience.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend.